The 2026 World Cup was supposed to be the tournament that finally, after years of controversy, demonstrated that modern officiating technology could deliver consistent, transparent, and defensible decisions at football's highest level. But now, hours after one of the quarterfinal's most compelling matches, Morocco have filed a formal complaint with FIFA. And the question it raises isn't simply about one goal. It's about a pattern that's been building across this entire tournament and that football's governing body has consistently declined to address directly. So what actually happened in Boston last night? Why is Morocco's coaching staff pointing at specific visual evidence? And what does it mean that VAR watched the entire buildup and chose not to intervene? Let's break it all down. Start with the basic facts, because they matter more than the emotion around them. France beat Morocco 2-0 at Boston Stadium on Thursday. Kylian Mbappe scored in the 61st minute, curling a brilliant finish beyond Yassine Bounou from inside the box after a clever pass from Desiré Doué. Ousmane Dembélé added the second in the 66th minute, firing from outside the box with enough pace that Bounou could only get a hand to it. France deserved to win. The statistics confirm as much, and France's dominance in possession and chance creation wasn't really disputable over the 90 minutes. But the story of why Morocco filed the complaint sits specifically in what happened in the 59th minute, 1 minute before Mbappe's goal. French midfielder Adrien Rabiot appeared to use his hand to control the ball in central midfield. Several Moroccan players stopped in that moment, believing the referee would penalize the contact and blow his whistle. The ball continued. Desiré Doué picked it up in transition, threaded the pass to Mbappe, who scored. The referee allowed the goal to stand. VAR reviewed the sequence and concluded the handball was incidental, non-immediate, and occurred before a subsequent transition of possession. No review at the pitchside monitor. No overturning of the decision. 1-0 France. Morocco's coach, Mohamed Wabi, addressed it in his post-match press conference with the carefully calibrated language of a man who believes something wrong occurred but doesn't want to be seen as making excuses. The goal came from an action where some referees would stop because they saw a hand. There is a handball, I don't know if it should have been called or not, I don't know. Then there's an individual action by Mbappe who scores. That final sentence is worth sitting with. He didn't say the referee was corrupt. He didn't say France didn't deserve the win. He said some referees would have stopped it. That's a precise and difficult observation to easily dismiss. Here's where things get interesting, because the complaint Morocco filed goes beyond a single frustrated coach speaking to cameras after a disappointing defeat. Photographs and video footage circulating since the final whistle appear to show Rabiot's arm in contact with the ball at a moment that Moroccan players on the pitch clearly identified as occurring. The images, described by Yahoo Sports and Essentially Sports as photographic evidence, have spread widely across football media, with supporters and analysts both pointing to the visual record as the basis for Morocco's frustration. The specific technical question is whether the contact was deliberate and whether it directly led to the goal. Both elements need to be present under IFAB rules for a handball to be punishable. Refereeing analyst Juan Guzman, addressing the incident separately from Morocco's complaint, confirmed that disallowing the goal would have been incorrect because the handball was deemed incidental and had no direct impact on the play. That's the official line. But the gap between the official line and what several Moroccan players believed they saw in real time is where the controversy lives.
It's worth noting that the Moroccan players who stopped in that moment, who paused their own defensive shape because they assumed the referee would blow his whistle, paid a real competitive price for that assumption. When Doué picked up the ball in transition and the goal eventually came, those players were caught out of position in part because they had reacted to what they saw as an obvious stoppage. Whether they were right or wrong about the handball, the ambiguity itself had a consequence. But that's only part of the story, because the handball question sits alongside a second moment of controversy from the same match that Morocco's complaint reportedly addresses. France were awarded a penalty in the first half. Bonu saved it, producing one of the saves of the tournament and keeping the scoreline level at 0-0 at that point. What Morocco's coaching staff have also pointed to is the absence of any penalty review in their favor during the match, describing a situation where one potential infringement inside the French box went unexamined by VAR, while France's own penalty was awarded following a routine review. The specific details of what Morocco believe constituted a penalty in their favor haven't been laid out in granular technical detail by their complaint, but the pattern they're describing, one team's potential infringements reviewed and punished, the others left untouched, is the consistency argument that's become the defining narrative of this tournament's officiating disputes. This matters because it doesn't exist in isolation. The Morocco-France controversy follows directly from a sequence that's been building since the Argentina-Egypt quarterfinal produced some of the most pointed expert criticism of VAR consistency in tournament history. Egypt had a goal disallowed for a foul detected in the build-up, 20 seconds earlier and the length of the pitch away from where the goal was scored. Argentina ultimately came from 2-0 down to win 3-2. Former FIFA referee Mark Clattenburg called the VAR intervention inconsistent with how the tournament has been refereed throughout. Alan Shearer said either both situations are fouls or neither one is. Dale Johnson at BBC Sport wrote that the Egyptian goal's disallowance was completely against how this tournament has been refereed. The bigger issue is the accumulation. This isn't one match with a disputed call. It's a tournament pattern where the most high-profile controversies have consistently involved some of the world's smaller footballing nations, claiming they were treated differently from the tournament's biggest names. Egypt led Argentina 2-0 and had a goal overturned. Morocco now claim a goal involving Mbappe should have been overturned and wasn't. The symmetry of those two outcomes is uncomfortable enough that football's analytical community has found it very difficult to dismiss as coincidence.
The historical comparison matters too, and it's one Morocco know personally. In 2022 in Qatar, Morocco reached the semifinal for the first time in their history, becoming the first African nation to do so. That run was celebrated globally as one of the great sporting stories of recent tournament history. This campaign, despite the quarterfinal exit, saw them eliminate the Netherlands and Canada before reaching the last 8 of the expanded 48-team format. In their first 5 World Cups prior to 2022, Morocco had suffered 4 group stage exits and 1 round of 16 elimination. The trajectory is unmistakable. This is a football nation that has genuinely developed into a serious international force, and they're now engaging with the officiating debate from a position of credibility, not simply grievance. Let's make this human for a moment, because behind the technical handball debate was an extraordinary sporting contest that deserved better than to be filtered primarily through a refereeing controversy. France were dominant. The statistics are unambiguous. 22 shots to Morocco's 5, a shot-on-target ratio that was 10-1 in France's favor across the 90 minutes, the second biggest first-half shot differential of any World Cup knockout match since 1966, behind only Brazil versus Sweden in 1994. Mbappe's 8th goal of the tournament drew him level with Lionel Messi in the Golden Boot race. Dembélé now has 5 goals at this single tournament, a remarkable individual tally from a wide player not expected to be a primary scorer. France are now in their 3rd consecutive World Cup semifinal, having won the trophy in 2018, lost the final in 2022, and now advanced to the Final Four again in 2026. Adrien Rabiot, the player whose handball contact sits at the center of this controversy, was asked about the incident and responded in a way that captured France's mood perfectly. He said France had little to fear from this Morocco team. That's a comment about football, not about refereeing, and it's broadly supported by what happened across 90 minutes on the pitch. But it's also the kind of remark that, following a complaint from the opposing nation and widespread analysis of the disputed buildup, took on a slightly different texture than it might have in a controversy-free match. Bonu, whose penalty save kept Morocco alive in the first half and gave the Atlas Lions the platform to potentially create something, spoke with the quiet dignity of a player who knows his team gave everything, even in defeat. Morocco's players stayed on the pitch after the final whistle, clapping their supporters, acknowledging what the campaign meant to both those inside the stadium and millions watching back home. So, where does this leave things with Morocco's formal complaint now filed? FIFA's standard process for reviewing post-match officiating complaints involves the organization's refereeing department examining the specific incidents in question and providing a determination that isn't always made public. In serious cases, formal communication goes back to the federation that filed the complaint. In almost no cases at this tournament have the outcomes of such reviews been announced before the next round of fixtures, which means Morocco's complaint is unlikely to generate a visible response before France face their semi-final opponents. The best-case scenario for those who want accountability is that FIFA's formal response addresses the specific technical question of the handball clearly and explains the reasoning for not going to the VAR monitor in sufficient detail that the analytical community can assess it properly. The more realistic scenario is that the complaint generates a formal internal response, Morocco receives some form of communication, and the public debate continues without a definitive FIFA statement that satisfies the critics. What do you think? Should VAR have gone to the monitor to review the Rabiot handball, even if the ultimate verdict was that it was incidental? And does the accumulation of tournament-level controversies from Argentina-Egypt through to France-Morocco tell you something important about how VAR's rules need to change before the next major tournament?